All right, so today we're looking at the Fossil Footprint Lab. All right. Now, fossils are evidence of pre-existing life. Normally when you think of fossil, what you're thinking about is like a bone or a shell, something like that. Normally you think of part of the actual creature. And the part of the creatures that typically best get preserved are hard parts, like bones and shells and teeth and stuff like that. It is possible for soft things to get preserved too, not as common. For example, sometimes they find like woolly, in the permafrost, they might find like woolly mammoth frozen, and they have, they still have its skin on and its stomach contents and stuff like that. Or sometimes critters might get preserved in amber, so you get to see what the soft parts were like. But most fossils are of the creature itself are the hard parts. Now, other types of fossils aren't pieces of the creature themselves. They're what are known as trace fossils. They're things that the creature left behind. So that could be like like an eggshell, right? That's not part of the creature, but it's something that's left behind. Or the nest, all right? It's proof that there was a living creature there. Or a worm burrow, or feces can be fossilized. So things like that, not parts of the creature, but evidence that the creature was there. And one particular type of trace fossil would be footprints. The creature leaves a footprint. You look at the footprint, there's a whole bunch of information you can get about that creature from leaving a footprint. All right, so so let's say I have a dinosaur. I drew a much better dinosaur a couple periods ago, but here's my dinosaur. And there's his foot. All right. And he steps in some soft ground. All right. Now, so he steps in some soft ground and then he walks away. So the dinosaur is gone. But there's the impression that his foot left in the ground. Now, first off, the fact that he left a footprint tells us something about the ground, because typically if the ground's pretty dry, you don't leave footprints in it. So it's probably wet ground, probably a muddy ground, the fact that he left a footprint in there. You can leave a footprint in dry sand, but normally it doesn't, just some shifting of the sand or some wind will blow it and make it go away. So it's typically something like mud that you get footprints in. All right, so there's the footprint, and what can happen sometimes is that some sediment will fill that footprint in, and get some sediment gets deposited on top of it like that. And as time goes by, this whole thing gets preserved as rock, right? A few million years go by, perhaps this material here was softer than this material here. So when it gets exposed to some erosion, this disappears. This disappears. And voila, I'm left with the original footprint. Okay. Or sometimes they might find something like that, and they'll, if I'm a geologist and I find this footprint in the middle of nowhere, and there's a whole bunch of footprints, I don't want to stay there forever studying that footprint. So maybe if I want to bring it back to the lab, I can't bring this giant section of rock. So what I might do is pour some plaster or Paris in there, and get a cast and mold and so forth of that, and I could end up making a reproduction of that footprint, like this guy right here. So this is like a reproduction of that footprint using plaster or Paris. All right, so this came from a real dinosaur footprint. All right, so So if I wanted to study the footprint in detail, I could bring that back to the lab a lot easier than bringing all sorts of bedrock. All right, so let's say I found the footprints. What kind of things can I learn about a creature from that? All right, so let's say these three sets of footprints right there, if I'm looking at those, I could probably make observations about them and make an inference about what creature was going fastest and what creature was going slowest. Since this one here, the footprints are farthest apart, that would better indicate that the creature is probably running and it was going pretty fast. Over here, the footprints are closer together, which would likely mean it was traveling slower. And if I want to take it another step and try to make a prediction even farther, if it's going really slow, maybe this is an old critter, maybe it's an injured critter, that's why it's walking slow. Maybe it's carrying something, so it's walking slow. This guy's going fast. Why is he going fast? Maybe he's going fast maybe it's a young one, and young ones just like to run around more. Maybe it's being chased by something, maybe it's chasing after something. Those are all things that might make a creature go fast, all right? But a lot of times the length of the footprints could tell us some information about the speed. Or you already might say this one's a lot taller than that one is. The taller it is, the longer the distance between footprints could be as well. All right. All right. Between these guys here, right? I find these footprints. Now, if I had to make a guess as to which one is a two-legged creature and which one's a four-legged creature. Now, I'm not a biologist. I don't know organisms' footprints very well, but I know what my footprints are like. I'm a two-legged creature, and I know my footprints kind of go opposite each other. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So that's the kind of footprint that a two-legged creature would have. Looking at this one here, that's a pretty tough footprint for a two-legged creature to make. It basically looks like almost like skipping, like left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right. So that's probably not a two-legged creature, all right? And unless you're an insect, there's really not too many six-legged creatures either. So that would make sense that that's probably a four-legged creature right there. All right, looking at these footprints, again, both moving this way. Again, this is left, right, left, right, left, right. This kind of pattern a two-legged creature would typically make if it was walking or running. This here, again, walking or running, that's going to be kind of a hard pattern to make. What would be the easiest way to explain that is I have a two-legged creature that is hopping. Right? If a two-legged creature was hopping, it would more likely have a pattern like that. So this would right, left, right, left, right, left, would more likely be walking. This would be hop, 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 hop. Maybe something like a bird. Birds kind of hop along. Might give you a pattern like that. All right, so between these guys here, assuming they're both going that way, one of these guys is slowing down and one of them is speeding up. So this one here, footprints are close together, but then they get farther apart. So it looks like this one was speeding up, whereas this one, they were farther apart, then they got closer together. So this one looks like it was running and then it was slowing down. So how the pace changes, distance of the pace changes, kind of gives you an idea of whether it's accelerating or decelerating. Now looking at these footprints, I see big ones and little ones right next to each other. So I'm wondering, is this a mother and a baby, or are these two different creatures all together? So give them a little look here. And if you look at them a little bit more closely, it would make more sense that they are probably two different animals. And the reason why I say that, well, one's bigger than the other one, but the footprints are a different style of footprint. All right, this just has the three like that, where this has the three like that and like a back toe to it that you don't see over here. So it's unlikely that it would just lose the back toe when it got older. So these are probably two different species of critters. And we don't even know if they are walking by each other at the exact same time. You know, this one could have walked by and this one could have walked by 5 minutes later. It just looks like they were walking at the same time. But again, the structure of the footprints are different, so that would likely mean they're different creatures. All right, looking at this one here. All right, got two creatures. Footprints from the top view aren't identical, but they're pretty similar. But now looking at the side view, their impression that they're making to the ground, I can see this one has a much deeper impression in the ground than that one does. All right, now from that observation, I might be able to draw a few conclusions. One, I might think that, well, this creature is probably heavier than that one if it caused a deeper imprint. All right, that could be true. All right, if the ground was exactly the same. But another thing what this might suggest is maybe that this ground is softer than that ground. Maybe both those critters are about the same size, but it's the ground that's different. Maybe this is a firmer ground, so you didn't go in as deep, and this one was the softer ground, so you went deeper too. But there's more than one way to interpret that. But one being heavier than the other one would be a logical one as well. All right, so let's say I saw footprints that look like this. Now, there's the footprints right there, and I see this line going down the middle of it. All right, so it looks like whoever this critter is right here, that is dragging something. All right, now you have to think, what could a critter like that be dragging? It's possible, you know, maybe if it has a long tail, maybe it's dragging its tail right between its legs like that. Or maybe it's, you know, like dogs sometimes pick up a big stick and they try dragging the stick, and a lot of times when they carry the big stick, it drags along, so maybe it's dragging a stick or something along. But it definitely looks like this critter's dragging something that's kind of going down the middle like that. Now, keeping all those things in mind, what you have to do for this lab here is, here I have a set of footprints, and there's all sorts of stuff going on in these footprints. Right? There's all sorts of things going on here. So taking into account the things that we've just talked about, what we're trying to do is come up with a story that would describe what events are going on in this sample of fossil footprints here. You know, looking at the spacing of the footprints, the size of the footprints, you know, there's something going on there. You know, you got stuff going on there. You know, are these organisms, are they interacting, or do they happen independent of each other? So what you're gonna have to do is come up with at least 125 word story to explain these footprints. So, at least 125 words story explaining what you think led to the creation of these footprints. Okay? Now, to help you along, all right, some of the things that you may want to consider in your story. Right? Some of the things that you may want to consider in your story. So, looking at the footprints, did those creatures move fast or slow? You probably want to identify the creatures, like label like A, B, and C, or if you want to give them names, you can, whatever. Just so when you're referring to it, I know what you're talking about. How many creatures do you think were involved there? Do the creatures have 4 legs or 2 legs? Was it a wet or dry environment? And not only do you want to answer that question, you want to also say why you thought it was a wet or dry climate. It has 2 legs or 4 legs. You say the creature had 2 legs because this was that. Where were they dragging? Did they interact at all? Were all the tracks, do you think, happened at the same time, where the critters were doing something with each other, or did they happen at different times? Looking at the footprints, did they run, walk, hop? What happened to them when the footprints disappeared? What was the result of that? Or what caused that result? Did they change speeds? Were they speeding up? Were they slowing down? What could have resulted in the footprints disappearing? Just because the footprints disappeared doesn't mean the creature died. There's other explanations that could be come up with as well. But this just kind of gives you an idea of things you want to address in your story. So again, at least 125 word story explaining those footprints. All right? When you get done, you just have to submit the story.